Ready, set, go.
Ready, set, go.
We're good.
Hello, friends. What's happening?
What's up?
Hey.
We took a trip over to Asheville from our usual broadcasting location of rural Jackson County to visit with our friends, Miss Lauren Garvey and Shar.
Hey.
Where are you from, Shar?
I was born in Michigan, raised in Florida, and I came out in Moore County.
Moore County. Fantastic. And a very, very, very close friend of the show, Mr. Bill Rhodes.
Thank you. Thank you.
The legend.
Res Hope. Res Hope.
Representing the Res Hope. He, my dude Bill, he was one of our first contacts. His wife was on the show at the very, very beginning.
Really?
He took our first little photo shoot,
Yeah,
first little
that's right.
professional
Yeah.
shots a while back. So I was excited when I showed up. Actually, I had previously talked to Sherry, and I knew that she mentioned you guys might be coming because I wanted to deliver that package to
Yeah,
you guys.
right.
So when I saw you walk out the door,
My t-shirt go. Here it is.
when I saw you walk out the door, when I pulled up, I got very excited. So we are broadcasting from the Agape home
Yes.
in West Asheville. Are we in West Asheville?
We're in West Asheville, right
wilds
in
of
the
West
heart
Asheville.
of West Asheville.
The heart of West Asheville.
Yeah.
A new recovery home in the community.
Correct.
Just spin the
And
camera around and show the outside.
if anybody's tuning in live right now on Facebook, you guys are having an open house today.
Yes.
Let's
Yes,
just
we
get
are.
let's just get that stuff out of the way. What's happening today? What do you plan to do? What's your goal? And who's invited?
All right, so I think for everybody's invited. We want to invite, the community, the recovery community, whoever really to just check out, our home, the location, learn a little about what our goals are here, and just getting the word out there about Agape, kind of where we come from with it.
Now you two have a history. You two?
Oh, yeah.
How'd you guys connect?
I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories.
Mhm.
I've been telling it quite a bit this last week. I had went into jail. I think it was about my 40th visit to Buncombe County Jail.
You want me to search to verify real quick?
Oh, I got papers downstairs.
Do you have a brick with your name on it or something?
Yeah, and the last time around in jail, I told the story actually when I told my story a little bit. But what it was is Shar came in and she did a group for Sunrise. It just so happens that now I do that group too. So I want to talk about a full circle. But I walked into this group. One of my people that I was locked up with, they said, "Why don't you just come to this group? Get out of your cell." And I said, "All right, fine." And
How long had you been there before you decided
maybe
to?
just a week or two. Still feeling pretty rough, but I went in there. I think my arms were crossed. I remember how angry I was feeling, and I heard Shar say, "You don't have to live like that anymore." And for some reason that day, I heard that, and I heard the passion. I seen the colorful shoes. Everything just about Shar. I felt it in here, and she was also the first lady that I can even remember, or probably my entire addiction that I looked at and I said, I need help, and I don't know what that looks like.
But something about that approach, that non-judgmental, compassionate approach allowed you to open up to asking for that help from Shar.
It was a miracle.
Yeah. And now you guys are teamed up
Now we're teamed up.
at the Agape home, the home of love,
Home of love.
delivering that same level of compassion, that same level of, well, your shirt says it, love.
Well, that's what
Right
it's all
there.
about.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that type of work, going into the jails or talking to?
Wow, you know what? I just happened to pull something out of my closet the other day. I hadn't worn it in a long time, and I reached in the pocket and I pulled out a note, and it was from someone maybe 15 years ago. And, I had returned to use after that, but she wrote me this letter, and I had stuck it in my pocket, and it was telling me how much she appreciated me because I had come into the Moore County Jail. And I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't a certified peer support specialist, but I just wanted other women to know that, like Lauren said, we don't have to live like that anymore. I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude, and I still am today. That, you know, I look a lot different today, but hasn't been too long ago that, you know, I was walking the streets dirty, without a place to lay my head, and prostituting for survival. And so I have a heart for women, and to share that love, the blessings that I've received in recovery, to just open that up and share it with others, that makes that hope come alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's just something so powerful in the, and that's where like this whole like peer support, peer approach thing is so valuable. Is that like when somebody is at their most vulnerable point of their life, another individual can walk into their life and meet them and tell them, hey, I've been there. I know what it's like. You know, let me love you, right, for who you are, the way that you are right now. And let's do this thing. Let's do this thing together. Whereas like social workers and therapists and things like that, there could be like potential barriers and longer periods of time to where that window might not still be open to like deliver that message and to like have that love or compassion be felt, truly like embraced, and like have that potential for change. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject, just last Thursday, we went into the jail, and we were emailed a question from the director. They asked us, what are some things that you heard the ladies say about what the groups do for them and what they bring to the table? And so we went in there and we asked them directly. We said, what are some things that really stand out for you or that are helpful for a group? And every single lady said, watching somebody like you that has been here, been there, done that, and is out there doing the thing, that's what's most helpful to us, because there's a huge difference in you know, someone coming in like a lawyer, or, you know, someone with their master's or whatever it is, and someone that's just like, I've been there, you know, so.
Yeah, definitely a level of barriers or separation from that like interpersonal connection that's so needed at that time. I mean, that's kind of like why we do this podcast. Like, I had been in school pursuing a CSAC and like looking into counseling, and I just saw like so much. I don't know. It wasn't, after going through those motions, I saw that it wasn't what I wanted to do. It wasn't where I could reach my full potential, affect the most amount of people that I can, or touch the most people that I can.
Yeah.
So I can totally relate to that. How did this concept come to life, this Agape home? Like, where did the idea come from? And then what steps did you like take to get the doors open, right?
Well, so my husband and I actually.
Let's give him some love real quick. Let's give him some love.
Greg.
Greg.
Yeah.
What's up, Greg?
So he and I met in a recovery house in Wilmington in 2010, and you know, we didn't stay on the pathway to recovery. There's been a lot of ins and outs and ups and downs along the journey, but he married me while I was in prison, and so since then we just celebrated 5 years of marriage. But as a part of our journey of recovery together, we have shared that desire to want to continue to spread the message, to carry the message, and to use whatever resources we have to do that. And our supervisor, Dr. Brack Jeffries, we were in a circle one day, and he said, you know, I think I'm ready to let go of this house. And I just timidly raised my hand, and Lauren said, I want to rent it. And I said, well, we could do something. And the next thing you know, here we are. And so then, you know, the three of us, Lauren is a part of our family now. And so she makes really a lot of this possible for us
Me, Mommy.
because of her many ways of connecting with people through the internet, and this is Gizmo. He's about to get him a girlfriend next month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but so the three of us together, you know, we have spent a lot of time in thought and meditation and prayer and coming up with a name, and we've come up with 10,000 names, but really we all three share the belief that it's love that changes, that changed us and continues to change people's lives. And so we wanted to, and Lauren's wearing her Kairos shirt, which we've done a lot of, Kairos Prison Ministries, and we learned a lot about Agape while we were serving in Kairos in the prison, and how it's love without strings attached. So the love that they taught us about is, available to us from a power that we can't see, touch, feel, or understand. And that's where we really, I think, came up with a solid agreement that we wanted this to be called the House of Love, the Agape home. And it's just a home where my husband and we own it, and we just open it up to guests. We're not a business, and we're not trying to make money, or we just really want to love on some women and see their lives change. And the reason why we chose women is primarily because it's the women who are the leaders in their families. And so in order to really affect the most change, we wanted to touch the women who will then affect their children. And so that's kind of the story. From my perspective, I don't know, maybe Lawrence is a little different.
No, not really. I mean, definitely just like I can speak from an actual experience I had last week at our weekly meeting that we have, the house meeting. And when I was hearing the girls talk about the compliments they were getting at work, it took me back to I remember back in the beginning, feeling a part of something, and having, Biltmore was a big part of the beginning of my work career in recovery, and how much, they really encouraged me, and sometimes those words were what got me through some really hard times. And I'm glad that they're able to relay, hearing, man, I'm doing really good at my job. They're they told me they wish there was two of me, and I know how that feels to get compliments. I still enjoy my compliments, but, when you're so vulnerable and you're in that early part, it can really make the difference.
Extremely empowering.
Yes.
When you need it the most.
When you need it, yeah.
What's the process been like for, admissions, or for opening those doors to allow people to come in?
Friends to stay over.
Yeah. Who is facilitating these sleepovers?
Lauren has been the one on the front, really. I work 2 jobs. My husband, he has some things that he can't do because he's not a female. Yeah. No, but so Lauren's really been on the front line with that, and we're super grateful for her. And we're just trying to reach out and let our recovery family know that, hey, here we are. And so we have 4 beds available right now. But for me, the so far we're learning as we go, and we've had a couple of girls slip, and we all learned a lot from that. So we only were able to respond in the ways that from our own experiences. But that's not what we want to do here. If we're called to a higher love, we really want to be able to support folks. So if they have a slip, what I learned from that and how I'll apply it in the future is, if someone here who has a slip, then I want to offer them opportunity to go to the Behavioral Health Urgent Care at RHA and to begin a detox process again. And then after that is complete, no minimum of 3 days, if they're test clean, then we want to have them come back. And that's completely different from what I've experienced in Oxford houses, because they give you 8 minutes to get your stuff and get out, and I've been left sitting on the sidewalk in front of the house
with everything you own.
Yeah.
And nowhere to go.
In trash bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And that has caused me to go backwards quite a bit, and took me years to work through the resentments.
Going to a detox facility was the last thing on your mind at that point.
Right, yeah.
Well, just the opportunity to be that loving presence, to say, this is not the end of the world. You still are valuable. You are still worthy of love. And how can I love you right now? And the process of learning about the disease of addiction is that, we human beings up underneath that addiction we're wonderful human beings. Mm-hmm. Goodness sakes, we're wonderful human beings. But to be able to speak into with love, to find that person under the addiction, to communicate on that heart-to-heart level, and to explore a solution that doesn't require all that additional brokenness. Yeah, none of us need any more brokenness in our lives. None of us need any more judgment in our lives. Like, I have a full-time person in my head doing that for me all the time. I don't need somebody.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Just one?
Right. Right. Thanks, Bill. Exactly.
You're a slacker.
There you go. Right. So
It's taking a lot of work to get down to one.
yes, yeah. So we just want to be that love, and we learn from that. And so we have multiple pathways of recovery here. So we're not only abstinence-based. If abstinence-based works for somebody, then yay, hallelujah, we're happy for you. But we're also open to medication-assisted treatment and
Any other pathway?
any other pathway.
No.
Mhm.
Not here, of course, because it's just friends staying over, as we all know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, whatever their pathway to recovery is, as
Yeah.
long as they're not going to endanger the recovery, my recovery, or my husband's recovery, or Lauren's recovery, then they're welcome here.
One of the things, like, you're just been like honing in on this, like this approach of love, right? And it's something that it's difficult in a sense that it being an active addiction, we've had so much kind of damage done to us, so many betrayals internally and externally, but we also crave love, and we crave that kind of affection, that unconditional love, that non-judgmental love and compassion. And it's hard to overcome some of the resistance and like earn that trust. Like, you really have to approach it delicately, like, and authentically, I think is what I'm looking for, is like that authentic approach. Like, when you walked into that jail and talked to Lauren for the very first time, Lauren's instincts told her that whatever you were saying to her was authentic. And so because of that, she was able to reach out and ask for additional help, or ask for some direction. And what should I do next? Like, what's up? What's next on the plate? Like, where do I go? Where do I start?
Right.
And like, for so many people, that's a make or break point in our story. But in this, what has become in this recovery, air quotes, industry, right? Mm-hmm. It's difficult to judge who is authentic and who is financially motivated, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like,
Or taking their old addiction into a new level of getting other people involved in it, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many different angles.
Yeah.
And that the authenticness is, I think, the key to this, what's happening here. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, like, it takes a level of kind of self-awareness, right?
Right.
Mm.
And not to be like distracted by everything that's going on and everything that's happening, because like we're all being of service. We're all doing what we feel right now is best for the community, for the people who are still out there, for whoever we interact with. But at the same time, it's so easy to become distracted with the work that we're doing, right? So like, how do you maintain that level of self-awareness, right? To like continue with this authentically compassionate approach, because it has to be difficult at times. It has to be somewhat chaotic at times, especially anything that's new, any new adventure. And I mean, this is a beautiful home. You gave me a grand tour an hour ago. This thing's gorgeous. Like, it takes a level of like self-awareness to like maintain that balance and to continue on with the same direction that you like originally had, right? So like, how do you monitor that? What do you do? That's for both you guys.
Well, it kind of goes back and forth. And me, myself, I am better on some days than on others. And I have definitely had very challenging moments since this thing started a month ago when we signed the papers. And so Lauren and Gray hold me accountable in many ways, but I also have, I would think a pretty robust system of self-care for myself. And whenever I've recognized that, whoa, I'm out of my resiliency zone, then I have increased my self-care. And so I started going back to massage. I have my own, spiritual disciplines that I practice in the morning every day. I have meditation that I do every day, a heart-based meditation. I have a lot of supports. I've reached out to Richie Tannerhill and Ed Rubenstein and some of my superheroes who come alongside me to lift me up and remind me who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I have a wonderful faith community at First Baptist Church that has really been very supportive of us in this, and no judgment, no expectation for the love they've poured out into our lives. But there have just been a lot of people who have, as we have let people know what we're doing, they've pressed in to say, how can I help? How can I love you? How can I help support you? How can I keep you whole during this process? But it is true. It has been challenging. We've gotten some things from the city of Asheville. We've had several different types of calls come in.
It's kind of like learning as you go.
It is learning as we go. And so,
on the job.
Just making it clear that what we're doing here, it's not about trying to have a religious house or trying to indoctrinate people. I mean, if I were to call myself some type of a spiritual leader, I would call myself a chaplain, a counselor, a spiritual counselor. That's who I am. I'm not a preacher or an evangelist. I'm not trying to get anybody to believe that way the way I believe. I just want folks to be able to connect to that love from the source of love, however they...
To pick their own and make it authentic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And then practice that. Mm-hmm.
Demonstrate that for those who choose to come hang out with you guys here.
Mm-hmm. So that they can find out for themselves that they're lovable and they're worthy of love, and then share that love with others.
I'm all about finding out what works for you, like and figuring out on your own through like empowerment of others, like others empowering you to like put the pieces of the puzzle together. Like we got like maybe there's like a table over there and there's like 5 different puzzles with all the pieces on the table, and you got to put the puzzle together on your own. If Bill Rhodes comes to me and says, Steve, this is the way that you're going to do it, this is what's going to work for you, I'm going to be like, fuck you, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Yeah. That's just how my mind works. That's how I've always worked my entire life. But if Bill said, hey...
But you would say that to me anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I don't know. But if Bill said, hey, Steve, let's pull up a chair and let's do this puzzle together, I would be like, yeah, dude, that totally sounds like something that I would like enjoy doing today and tomorrow. And like, let's do this, man. Next thing we know, we have 5 puzzles put together on the table. That's just how it works for me. And like you hit on something that I've loved in seeing this whole process happen from a distance is that like you mentioned all the individuals from the community coming together and like wanting to like be of service and like how can we help, what can we do, and like I remember almost a year ago Sherry Barker was on the podcast. She was talking.
Hi, Sherry.
I love you, Sherry.
Love you, Sherry.
And she was talking about the hope chests on our podcast, right? And then, like, next thing I know, a year later, you guys are like putting hope chests together. Like, what? So, what's that all about?
Well, that's mainly in honor of our daughter Beth, who died 2 years ago. in January of addiction. And many times we found as her family, and we were trying to support her through her battle with addiction and going to different treatment centers and sober living houses and whatever else. Every time she would go there, she would lose everything she had. Everything. Because she was doing illegal squats in trailers and living under a bridge and whatever, and couch surfing or whatever. And you can't take anything with you to detox. So everything would be put in a trash bag. The sheriff's department would say, yeah, you'll get it later. And they throw it away. Gone. And we're talking about shampoo. We're talking about soap. We're talking about hygiene products of all kinds.
Just the basics.
Just stuff, right. Yeah, just stuff that you need to live day to day and try to get yourself to look good, to feel better about yourself. So obviously coming out of detox, you've got nothing. I don't even think they give you pajamas there, do they? I don't even know what they do anymore. But I hear this from people all the time that they don't have anything. They just have whatever clothes that they had when they came in, and that may be,
minimum.
Yeah, and it may be nasty because who knows what kind of situation they were in when they went there. And so when people come to a place like this, it's just about giving them stuff to work with that is given in love from us to think you are a good person. This is your stuff. Do whatever you want with it. It's a plastic box. Maybe I bring one in here.
Sure.
Yeah, let me go get one.
It's just something like that's super empowering to like just having possessions, like things that are yours, right?
Especially when they walk in.
Yeah, when you walk in the door, like you talk about coming from love, like that's love. Like here, we have this for you.
It's a gift for you.
It's a gift for you.
Welcome.
There's no expectations. There are no strings attached.
It's yours.
I do not expect anything in return. This is for you.
Yeah, I'm not looking for anybody to study the Quran or anything like that. But what we do is we put. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
We get a blanket. We give them a nice fuzzy blanket.
It's very soft.
Shampoo,
cuddly.
socks, hair thingies.
Hair thing.
So
every girl needs a
hair
thing of hair thingies. Yeah.
They're even covered with fabric. Good
Yeah.
job, Bill.
Good
job,
you
Sherry.
like that? Yeah, I picked those out actually. Hand cream, colored pencils, a couple pens, a pretty composition book. So the big thing a lot of people do in recovery is writing.
Journaling, yeah.
Right. Deodorant. This is a nice one here. This is a special pillowcase that our friend Stephanie Shook makes, and
So cool.
she makes these in her house, and she gives them to us to put in the bags, and they are absolutely incredible.
There are little roses on here.
Yeah,
you can't see
this
it.
one's really cool. And every one of them is different. They're all made with different scraps of fabrics because she's a quilter.
Handmade
Pillowcase that it's theirs, and of course we got the other stuff like we got cat slippers this time.
I got some unicorn ones.
Yeah, she got unicorn ones last time. Yeah, toothbrush, toothpaste, more hair thingies, whatever you call these things. I call them pain to my feet because I step on them all the time. Towel and feminine stuff.
And this is something that you guys are going to be continuing to collect.
It's for lack of a better word, to go to the First Baptist word, a ministry. We decided if we want to do, and we'd love to expand it and do it to more places, and get more people in on it if someone's interested.
So if people are interested in helping that might be tuning in, they could contact your wife or yourself, Sherry Barker, or Bill Rhodes on Facebook.
Yep.
Send them a private message, or
through you, and you can tell.
Yeah, we can
Agape
connect
home
you.
too.
We can connect you to them, and I'm sure they would take any type of donations.
Oh yeah, anything. Yeah.
To put in these hope chests. Like I was saying, like it's just super empowering to like have something. I remember like a couple days into my stay at a treatment center in Ocala, Florida, and it's very institutionalized. It was run by the Department of Corrections, and so I got in my dorm room and I'm just like laying in there looking around. I'm like, man, this is very prison-like, brick walls, and so they took us to Walmart every Saturday. They take us out, and I was just like, I need something in my room to like give me life.
Yeah.
And so I bought a little bonsai tree at Walmart, snuck it back in, right? Put it in my room, and like that thing just like got me through. Just by having a little plant.
A little bit of life.
A little bit of life. I put it up in the window.
Yeah.
watered it, you know, and just like talked to it, meditated with it, and like that thing really got me through like some of the most difficult times of that stay there was just by having that little bit of life. And I could even like my two roommates, I could feel them kind of like breathing off of it, right? And like a certain level of energy that was created in that room. And those two guys, they weren't too excited. They weren't as excited as I was to be there. Like they might not have been. It might have been more of like going through the motions and like
Might not have been their time. Right?
might not have been quite their time.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it did something while we were in there.
Well, the thing is when you go from having nothing to having this stuff that somebody has just said here, I mean, it's just got to be. I can't even imagine because nobody ever did that for me. I've never really had that experience. Other than the military, which is here, this is all yours.
But they expected something in return.
Yeah, they did, unfortunately. Yeah, but and they got it in spades. But there was somewhere I was headed with that was I thinking back to when we were taking Beth all over and back and forth to different places, and it always happened at night. And it was always without any warning. I got to go to treatment. It's time to go. I want to go. I want to get clean. Okay, fine. So off we get her, rescue her from whatever hellhole she was in at the time, get her away from that and away from her abusive friends, and get her going on the right way and stop at Walmart. And it was always usually when we had like 2 nickels to rub together and maybe some gas in the tank, but not always, you know. So it was a matter of finding the stuff and paying for the stuff and getting her on the right way, and it really made a difference for her. Even though she eventually did succumb to addiction, she made a good go of it a couple times, and I like to think it's because we were there for, again, that's that unlimited, unlimited and universal hope and love that we gave her. Of course, it didn't mean we didn't have rules. I mean, she couldn't bring friends to our house. She couldn't. In fact, she didn't know where our house was for a couple of years because we'd moved and we didn't really let her know. Because, you know, obviously, we all know that some people in addiction do things that they don't mean to do, like help themselves to their brother's change and his Xbox and phones and whatever else. You know, it's all fair game. And, you know, we all know that. It's not a big deal. But you can still love somebody with rules and with, I don't like the word tough love. I think it's better to call it, to go to a Buddhist word, which is, sorry, my brain's not working so well right now.
Boundaries.
There we go. Boy. Acceptance. There we go. Radical acceptance.
Radical
Okay.
acceptance.
Sorry, my brain
Yeah,
is kind of...
that's all good.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
And radical acceptance is really, in spite of the fact that I couldn't remember it, but it's really what's helped me through my time. When I hit that, I read that, and I said, whoa, and I read it again, and I got another whole book on it, and I read that, and I was just like, geez, this is the shit right here. And it really just got to the point. And for those who don't know, it's means you accept everything. You don't say yes or no to it. It just is. And it's just like anything else. That tree there, I may not like where that tree is, but it's there. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Short of cutting it down, which, you know, but
It's a difficult practice.
yes, it is. It's not
It's
easy.
something different. It's a difficult skill. I would call it a skill. It's
Yeah,
a
it's
difficult
definitely a
skill
skill,
to
yeah.
learn. I've read that book,
Yeah.
and it is a phenomenal read. It's difficult to apply, especially in times of chaos.
Yeah.
And just like little things will come up. Today, I live up at the top of a mountain. It's about 15 miles up and down. Takes about 25 minutes to get up and down. And me and Bianca, we drove separate cars to the bottom of the mountain to come over here. Well, I made it like halfway down. I was in the front of the train, and I made it about halfway down the mountain, and I realized I forgot something that I needed for this package right here. And so, like, Steve 4 years ago would have been like, just what the fuck, beating myself up over it, and just like
Yeah, it would have been a
maybe
breakdown.
it would have been a meltdown,
panic
dude.
attack or something. Yeah.
37-year-old meltdown,
Yeah.
you know. And
Wait till you have 50-year-old meltdown. That's even worse.
and I just pulled into a driveway, and I backed out, and I pulled up to her, and I said, "Hey, just keep going. I'm gonna go back up there. I'm gonna get the thing that I need. I mean, I needed it to do this thing. It wasn't optional.
Right.
I'm just gonna go get it. We left. We set ourselves up. We have plenty of time. I'm gonna meet you down there at the location where we're gonna leave the other car and do all that." And it happened, and it wasn't a big deal, but it could have been a big deal. I could have made it a big deal. That was like me applying that skill to my life, right? And but like having that conscious awareness to like do that on a consistent basis. That's just a little experience that happened. That wasn't a life-changing moment, you know. So,
Right. But it could turn that way.
and
You could let it.
you grow on those things.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
right.
you do that. You apply that to your life 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and then when you are faced with that monumental challenge, I know what to do right now.
It's
I know where to go.
It's the changing of the neural pathways.
Yeah.
Everything we do is a habit. Everything we do is muscle memory or brain memory or whatever. And the more you do the wrong thing, or, well, not really wrong, but the bad things, whatever you want to call it, the more you're going to keep doing them.
Yeah.
And the more you start doing the right things and the good things, they're going to keep doing those too.
Yeah.
And of course, it still fails. I mean, I still have meltdowns over things. And,
Yeah.
but I'm trying. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I'm real trying.
Let me go check the comments to verify that statement.
Probably there already.
Yeah. And you just seem to the way our brains are wired, you seem to, the spotlight always goes to the negative experience. I took a positive psychology class last semester.
Awesome.
It was a phenomenal class, and one of the books that we were reading, they were talking about, and I cannot remember the theory to save my life right now, but basically what the gist of it is that in like the business world, like through like studies and things, research and stuff, they said that you have to like have 3-to-1 ratio in positive to negative statements, like in business meetings and conference calls and stuff like that. You have to sandwich it in 3-to-1 positive to negative, in order for the business to like be like financially successful and have a good quality of life for the employees and the people that work for you. Because that one negative statement could like
Wipe out,
literally make or break your company.
Right. Obviously, people I was in business with when I was in corporate situations never heard
They
that
didn't
rule.
get that
No,
memo.
They never got that memo. No.
Yeah, there's many that still haven't, Bill.
Yeah.
So like, where's this thing going? What's on the horizon for the Agape home? Like, what do you guys see happening next? What are your goals?
You haven't said anything in a while.
Come on,
Do you have
Jitterbug.
Any burning desires?
Any burning desires? No, I was getting this is off subject. I was just thinking about when me and Sherry met, and it was pretty powerful too. But to touch basis on what our goals.
You can go
are.
anywhere you want. That was just a question.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story about how me and Sherry met, because it's pretty intense. So I was getting online and talking about the Agape home, and just for one, the amount of support and people running into me to the community and going into meetings, and people just hugging me and being like, you're doing so much, you're doing so great. That means a lot too. And Sherry was one of those people. She reached out, and we immediately, I don't know, like it was the way, I don't know how we got on the subject, but she talked about her daughter. And I, of course, talked about my mom.
Had y'all ever met previously, face to face?
No, never. Didn't
we met
even really
Charlene.
know.
Yeah.
The only thing we had in common, I think, was Res Hope.
Yeah.
And Caleb and Caitlin. And so she started talking about her daughter, and I started talking about my mom, and I think we immediately kind of had that connection of, and we knew that there was a reason that we were talking
both
on that
named
day.
Beth, weren't they?
No, my mom's name was Liz.
Liz, that's right, I'm
Catherine,
sorry.
but
Yeah.
she went by Liz.
Okay.
And yeah, so we just immediately had that in common, and that was really cool. And when we did finally meet, it was really nice to have that. But what are our goals? Well, I think our goals right now are trying to get people in the home and to keep empowering women and all that.
Now you're currently residing here, right?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I reside here. Of course, working full-time job. So you're talking about self-care. I guess I take 2-week vacations when I need self-care.
Go on, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I just
Yeah,
recently got
Maine.
back from
She's a
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah. I got to see, and I said something about this trip too.
Was this your first trip home
This was
in recovery?
This was not my first trip home. This was my first trip home that I was just going for to visit my family.
Without like an agenda or for a specific reason?
Yeah, last time it was because of my mother, and I don't know if I have a really good memory, but I can still remember those feelings. Like when I got around my family, like I was grateful, but then there was like resentments coming up, and there was pain, and of course I was just putting it all down. I wasn't really talking about it. I wasn't gonna talk about it with them,
Before or this trip?
No,
Water?
this is the trip before.
Okay.
So then some time went by, worked on some things, and I finally was out there with my family, and it just felt normal. It felt like it was home. I was joking with my nanny, giving her a hard time. She's giving me a hard time, trying to tell me I wasn't putting the dishes in the dishwasher right, just stuff like that, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Nanny was one of those people, like, if you're going to do it right the first time kind of people,
Yeah. Old school, baby.
Yeah, and I love that, She's 97. She still goes up
Wow.
and down the stairs, like, quick as a whistle, like, she's just amazing. And it was 2 weeks. There was a lot of fun times, and there was a lot of times just hanging out too. And then of course my sister too. We finally, I told her about things, and I didn't hide nothing. I told her it all, and they had no idea how bad it was.
Because they were so far away.
I just didn't really.
You just didn't really share it.
I dropped off. It wasn't a matter of them not. It's a hard one to answer, but for me, on my end, I just dropped off the face of the earth. That was my way of dealing with that, but.
And you were able to enjoy some of that beautiful outdoor landscape
Yeah.
I saw, huh?
Yeah, I went ice
Those
boating.
pictures of your grandmother were great. I think
Yes.
she's awesome.
She looks sweet, right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. She's so sweet. But yeah, so I had a great trip. It was everything. It meant everything to me.
Crushing it on the snowboard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 10
Yeah.
years I hadn't been on it. I had to get on there, and you saw me bragging a little bit.
I saw
Yeah.
you
There
brag.
was a little bit of bragging going on, but I was so proud of myself. I was able to get on that thing, and like I'd never stopped. It felt good.
Ice boating is a riot, isn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was a little scary.
Yeah,
It's a little freaky.
you realize you're like 2 inches above the ice and doing like 80 miles an hour.
Oh
It's
my
like,
god, yeah,
it's
and I
nuts.
don't know how to do it, so I'm
It's
like,
nuts.
oh, we should probably tell you how to stop. I'm like, yeah, maybe next time. Tell me how to stop.
You might want to have told me that yesterday.
But yeah,
And so
it was real fun.
we wanted to dedicate the house to Lauren's mom, Liz. Just that amazing love, that lives on in Lauren's heart from her mother, and the remarkable gift to me of watching her go through that without picking up a drug or a drink to numb the pain. It was inspiring.
That's so beautiful. You took it
Yeah.
upon yourself to do it, to name it the house, to recognize the house after her.
And we've had women sit at this table at our house meetings and talk about, even though they're so early in recovery, how amazing it is for them to be reconciled in relationship with their family. Like one little girl said, I had a real conversation with my mom for like the first time in, I can't even remember. Like I wasn't asking her for anything. I didn't ask her for any money. It was like we just really connected. And another woman sat at the table and talked about what it was like for her to be invited to her son's graduation and for her mom to actually help her out without, condemning her, judging her, yelling at her, just that their relationships are being reconciled. And the other little she's not a little girl, she's a young woman, but she brought her 4-year-old son yesterday. And he was just so adorable. And he doesn't give hugs because he was raised in Scotland. He gives cuddles. And so, yes, just
Cuddles.
cuddles, yes, like Gizmo. So he was so adorable. But that's where my heart has been for a couple of decades. Like I wanted to have an opportunity to support women because of the connection with children and families, and that was actually my daughter who called in while we were doing this, and how wonderful that is. When I was in prison, and she didn't talk to me and said she never wanted to talk to me again.
It's interesting, but one thing that I think that we do in the West, and I'm not an expert on all cultural things and all that, but I know in America we do it. People don't have a basis to deal with this stuff. When things go wrong, we don't tell people in school or in anywhere. We don't tell them. Even psychologists have this problem. I mean, they come home and stuff's going wrong, and they do the same thing, like, and that is not the things we need to do. We need to go, all right, okay. And I'm not perfect either. I mean, I've certainly done my share of, but it's a real shame that we don't teach basic, I don't even know what we call that.
Just like life skills.
Life
almost,
skills, there you go, yeah, so for lack of a better word, yeah. And what happens when things go wrong? Because they will in your life. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be as extreme as what drug addicts or alcoholics face, but everything is, as we say in Refuge, everything, all suffering is suffering. It doesn't matter what it is or what it's from, and everyone suffers at some level over something.
We just have these like false sense of expectations for like life and what life should be. And even like, growing up as a kid, like everybody's parents are like, well, your life's not fair. Life won't be fair. But is that how you should really like deliver that message?
No.
Or can the message be delivered from a place of love, right?
Yeah.
And like, can you be taught that like, this is how it is, Bill?
Right.
How can we radically accept this
Right.
experience for what it is? What can we learn from it?
Yeah.
What can I learn from this like the most difficult time of my life?
Yeah.
What can I learn from the loss of my daughter? What can I learn from the loss of my mother that I can apply and then share with the world? Not just like learn and keep it to myself, but give it away to somebody else, like what you guys are doing here on a daily basis.
I just wrote on the board, hope is a wish coupled with the expectation it will become a reality.
Absolutely.
And I believed in Lauren when I first met her, and she was like, wow, I can't believe you, it's like you believed in me. And, and I still believe in her, even in, and people believe in me. And I think the same thing, like, what are you doing believing in me?
You've been in here? I mean, no,
Right,
seriously.
exactly.
You wouldn't want to be in there, believe me.
Yeah, it's the goodness that is a part of us in our hearts, all of us, that, taking away the addiction piece. Like, once we can get that under, it's separated from who we are, like, just that beautiful thing that comes out. So,
and it's also another problem we had with Beth, too, is that many people have got addiction and mental health problems. Very, very few. Yeah, right, exactly.
everybody at this table.
I mean, but they don't recognize that. It's like the psychologists don't recognize that addicts have psychological problems, and the addictionologists don't believe they. It's just that they treat it's so frustrating because it's like the hammer thing, the hammer analogy. Mm-hmm. The whole world looks like a nail when you're a hammer.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I think about Richie Tannehill, and he is a hero to me because he was the first person who I saw with similar behaviors, right? He has a lot of energy. I have a lot of energy, and people have always looked at me as if that was a problem. Yeah. But I saw him demonstrating it as a strength,
and
right?
You're like, well, I can do this. Yeah,
like to turn that thing around, whatever it is that, it's big, and I have big energy around certain areas, right? Like, so if I have a tendency to control, now I'm a great manager. So to be able to turn these things around, to use them as strengths in my life, to, benefit others, just like, I can say today, I'm a double winner. I have mental health challenges and substance abuse challenges. But what that does today is it allows me to make that connection that you were talking about earlier, Stephen, with people, because I understand what that is. I might not have exactly the same experiences that they have, but I can feel what that's like. I remember what that was like to feel so alone and so afraid that nobody could get me. Like I was just so damaged, like I was too far gone. And then having someone come into my life that said, my sponsor, Mama Pat, she said, she like inserted herself in my life. I was,
That's how it's
this
gotta
is
be
like,
done.
you,
Yeah.
come here.
Yeah.
And so, and she, she didn't give up on me when I went to prison. She wasn't surprised when I called from the jail. And, she taught me how to let my daughter vent. Just let her tell me all the things I've done wrong to disappoint her and hurt her in her life. And just let her be angry. She has the right to be angry. Golly, she has a lot to be angry at me for. And to just listen and go, yeah, you're right. You are so right. And, and to just be able to own that, take responsibility for it in my life, like to work the steps of recovery and to be able to stand in my own space, recognizing all those things I've done in my life that I regret so much, but yet having that hope, that wish that I could be a different kind of person, and then seeing those wishes day after day become a reality. Like I am walking the life that I only dreamt of. Like this is who I want to be. I want to be a person of character, a person who is able to love despite the challenges, who's able to come back and say, you know what, I didn't handle that really well. And I just need to apologize to you for that. And how can I make it up to you? Because I could have done that better. And so, going back to the question that you had about all these challenges and how are we managing it and how are we continuing to walk in love, Lauren was gone for 2 weeks. And so, boy, howdy, did that ever make me so much more grateful for Lauren when she came back. So it's hard to know, what you have until it's missing, right? And so when she was stepped away, then I realized, oh my gosh, Lauren does so much. Like she, just her presence in my life is, important for my continuing to be able to manage all these stressors and pressures and to maintain the open heart stance, and so she has a way of staying calm, and she exercises a lot. That's how she manages it. So she works it all out at the gym.
Caleb, you heard that?
Yeah, look, Caleb knows.
Caleb?
We update
Oh, yeah.
each other once in a while.
I was trying to find the. I know it's not written by Jesse. Oh, here it is, right here. I am somebody. Remember, I am somebody. Right. I am
Somebody.
There you go. Jesse Jackson.
Beloved child of God.
Yeah, Jesse Jackson used to do that a lot, but it's a poem written by Pastor William Borders in the 50s.
Sorry, you're getting love.
How long?
Oh.
How long are you guys going to be here today? So the open house is taking place currently.
Yeah, it's currently going on.
So-
I just
wanna-
wanted to feed some people some food. That's
Yeah,
what
we
I
got
was
food.
all
That's
about.
what I wanted to reset real quick. For anybody that's tuning in that's local and wants to swing by, that's tuning in live, what you got some food? You got a spread of food in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah, they
finger
just want to
food.
park in the back off Russell Avenue because it's limited parking in the front.
You got
so.
an address, Lauren Garvey?
We got 148 Sand Hill Road, and then Russell Drive is off of.
You're right.
Is off of Vermont.
Vermont.
Yeah,
It's
thank you.
it's one of the dead end streets off of Vermont.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they come, if they can park in the front, we can always get them to.
Yeah,
move in the
message Lauren,
Yeah,
and we'll get somebody
Facebook.
out there to get you a good VIP parking spot in the back. So what is so Lauren, you're here. You're a resident. You're living
Live
here.
here, yep.
What's a day in the life of the Agape home? Like, what can someone
Okay, just that.
expect? What is happening around here?
So basically, during the week I work, the girls work. There are some things that are required as far as like keeping up with the house and stuff. If they're home, I interact with them. I talk to them. I actually had a girl, and here's the thing too. They wake me up out of my sleep if they need me to, and they did the other night. A girl, she came in. She was going through some personal things. I'll keep it brief because that's her stuff. And I woke up and I just got up and I listened to her and I listened to what she was saying. And when she asked me for what we can do, I gave my input on that. And at that time, I messaged Gray and Shar, and we worked together as a team to try to come up how we can support this girl, at best. And so, we just support. And some people they're like, well, I like to, when I'm talking to people, I talk to a lot of peer supports in the community. And so I'm always thinking like, I want to stand out, and it's not that we have to stand out, it's that the house stands out. And the reason is the fact that, that unconditional love, that extra support, it's not, you're just not coming in here giving us some rent money and doing what you do. We want to have that support. I want those girls to feel like they can knock on my door at 3 a.m. if they have to. Well, I get up at 4, that's not a big deal. 11 o'clock at night, and know that I'm gonna get up. I'm not gonna be mad. I want, that's not my job. It's my job to get up and be there for them. And so,
which so many for-profit houses, they don't get up because they're there as a job.
Oh yeah, I'm getting up, and
Yeah.
I'm getting up, and
I've heard that from lots of people.
Oh,
yeah, can't find whoever's in residence they're supposed to help, and
I think for me, like the recovery journey in the beginning was so intense because so many times I just wanted to go back to what I knew. That if someone is vulnerable enough to come knock on that door, that's a big deal. I caught myself and cussed. That's a big deal, and I'm
not that strong.
And I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna listen, and so making them feel like that support is there. She's a LCAS, so she does EMDR therapy. She can talk more about that because I'm not too in tune about that. Me, Gray, and her, all certified peer support specialists. I'm actually getting ready to take my CSAC test on March 10th.
Boom.
And so we got a certified substance abuse counselor here. I work in the field with people that are in very active addiction and some that are in very good recovery and in between, all kinds of different stuff. And so, and that's been a huge learning thing for me too. And that's why I'm super grateful for peer support. It gave me that little extra, how do you approach things? But,
and I think that's something that's really changed. Being a little older than everybody else here, it's changed a lot since I first had trouble years and years ago. There was no peer support. Nobody listened to you.
AA was your peer support.
Yeah, right. And as far as I was concerned, it wasn't for me. It never did work for me. And the thing is that now there's people that listen to you, like you said. They relate to you and they listen to you. They just don't preach at you.
Yeah.
Which was what I got years ago, and it didn't work. And it just dove me down deeper to hide what I was doing further down.
That's what so many people need, is just somebody to listen to.
Exactly. Right.
And like people try to use social media for that, and it doesn't end up working
No,
out.
it's not.
It doesn't end up working out.
No, because you can't tell who's crying for help and who's crying for whatever.
So you know how Seek Healing does the listener training?
yes.
Where they teach people how to become like active listeners. It's a part of like their program.
Okay.
The willing hands.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I did a podcast with an awesome dude, Skype deal with this guy in Australia, Matthew Ball, and he runs an organization called the Humane Clinic out there in Australia. And one of the things that he said that they do, which I thought was super cool, was like they'll go out to like somewhat of, I think, like a public place, and they'll set up 2 chairs, and they'll have a listener just sit in one of the chairs and just like open it up to like people in the community passing by, just to
Anything
sit down
you want to say, right?
and get it off your chest.
That's funny.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Completely like nothing, no judgment, just listen. No feedback, no nothing. You can just sit down and spill your guts, whatever it is you need to get off your chest.
That'd be tough just talking to strangers.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
they do the same thing that they do it like a listener type training, like Seek Healing does over here. I thought it would be something cool for us to do at SEC.
Yeah.
To like engage with some of like the younger students is something that we're thinking about doing down the road. But just to be that listener, just
Well,
to like
Sunrise did that peer book.
Yeah,
peer book
yeah,
project,
yeah.
and that was similar. And we had police officers come in and people from the college, and that was a pretty cool experience. Along lines, the same thing. Only where the peers are kind of like giving them a little bit of their story, but how many people came in like, I haven't dealt with addiction, but my sister or my brother, my best
my dad,
friend,
my mom, whatever. Yeah.
and it was neat.
Yeah.
There should be more things like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
super cool. both of you guys work in the field. Is that correct?
Overly work.
Overly
Yeah.
worked.
Overworked and underpaid.
What is life like balancing that with your like personal recovery, and how do you find that balance between the two? Because you're, like you just alluded to, you're kind of always on the clock, or the phone, your door is always open. People can
Yeah.
always knock. So like,
Yep. Phone too.
how do you find that time for Lauren? You both hit on like self-care. You both have today.
I work out.
How do you make it happen? What does it look like in action?
Well,
Wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I wake up
Go to
at
the
4
gym.
a.m. I go to the gym. I have a best friend, Megan, and she's great. She really helps me getting like, this is our time to be normal and to be, just who we are, and if we want to goof around, and that's nice to have. And I work with her too, so it's great. I guess I get my weekends. I hang out with family. I'm easily pleased, I could be here at the house and that can be self-care for me. I go to meetings. I'm part of NA, working on my steps. I'm actually got a step study next Sunday before the house meeting. So, I self-care by the gym and eating well. That's been a huge part for me. That's I just feel great. It's been a big difference for me. Something I've never done before, really. I enjoy it. It keeps me on my top of my game, because really I'm always working.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah.
You're a hustler. Right?
Yeah. So what's one of the most important pieces to my self-care is that I do get up really early as well. I get up maybe 2.5 hours before I have to leave. And I do that because that gives me time. I do the same thing every day. And so every day, no matter what day of the week it is, I do the same thing. I get up and I have some recovery literature I read. First thing I read is recovery literature, because my brain is, like you said earlier, it leans toward the negative. And so I've got to get myself moving in the right direction. Then I turn and get on my knees, and I try to connect with my higher power. And I spend some time doing that. I have heart-based meditation practice that I...
Could you go into a little bit of detail on that?
The heart-based medication?
Please.
Okay.
Yes,
if
please.
you say. Yes, I'm so grateful. I am a heart-based therapist. And so what that means is there was a program through VIA at MAHAC, Dr. Ed Rubenstein. The website is heartbased.org. And he trains professionals. Certified peer support specialists can become a heart-based specialist, or at levels of, will train anyone, I think. But it's a way of life, really. So that when you were talking earlier about when the stresses kind of keep piling up, and it is actually an intervention for trauma. So it can be used for that, but he talks about being swung out, and it's about heart and mind being in alignment, and so that they're in a happy relationship with each other and communicating with one another, instead of just being head dominant. Like when I become head dominant and I'm thinking my way through life and I'm cutting myself off from my heart, then I am more likely to be swung out into the caution or the danger zone. And then coming back into my heart, where I can access the true heart feelings. So it's allowing, it's a spiritual intervention. It's the spiritual dimension of whole person care.
It's like Sherry says, love elders' ego.
It could be.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It's got to be connected.
Being in
right.
connection with one another.
Yep.
And it's a way, like, it doesn't matter what you call your higher power. You can call your higher power anything, but as long as there's an ability or capacity to believe that there is a higher love available. It could be a higher harmonic in the universe. It could be, however you can connect with that higher love. And we feel it in our bodies. It's a somatic kind of thing. So feeling that in my body, so that once I become completely relaxed in my body, it begins with a meditation where I'm relaxed in my body, and then it's about touching the center of my heart to draw attention to that. Smiling, that is like turning on the switch or pressing down the gas pedal, and then just simply enjoying. I mean, it's like that's where any of us can experience the peace, the gentleness, the gratitude, the joy, the love, and it's available to all of us anytime, just through that simple connection. And I spend some time doing that every day, and then I jump out. I had to put a treadmill in my living room, so my husband loves it. Yeah. And so,
Is that your alarm clock? The treadmill? Thump, 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 thump.
so I jump on the treadmill. And
Hi, Stephanie. Or the pillowcase lady.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Beautiful.
And like Lauren alluded to, I have to also be careful about what I put in my body. I have to drink a lot of water and, just being careful about the sugars and things like that. And then, I have a therapist and I do massage. I go down to the people's acupuncture clinic. So, it really depends on what my body and what my body is telling me I need at that moment. But I have also practiced a program. My program is Alcoholics Anonymous primarily, and Celebrate Recovery. And I have a huge, large network of wonderful people that, I can call upon, and they can call upon me, and I have my husband available to me, and my little dog Gizmo. It's amazing how I can be having a hard day and walk in the door, and when that dog sees me, it starts spinning around.
Gizmo's
Like,
Gizmo's trying to pull the table.
Yes, and so he's a great source of my self-care.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of pieces to that puzzle, right?
Yeah.
I'm a super...
Gizmo has his leash wrapped around the table leg, and he's trying to yank the table away.
Is that what I feel?
Yep.
Very interested in those heart practices. That's something through Refuge Recovery that has really been extremely influential in my process of recovery. Specifically, the forgiveness practice, the forgiveness meditations. Essentially, just like a mantra.
Yeah.
I forgive myself. I forgive you. I forgive others.
I want you to have peace. I want you to
please
have
forgive me. Things like that, and doing that consistently.
Yep.
So the idea with this is that the forgiveness is a part of it. There's an extra level called the emotional clearing process, and really it's just about allowing myself to open to that love and to connect with that love, and then the love dissolves everything that is not of itself. And so I don't have to work at trying to forgive somebody, and it's like, somebody said today, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And so, I don't want that stuff. It doesn't work.
It doesn't? Darn.
No. And so I want to be able to walk free from all of those things that would hinder me. And that is my belief. If it comes down to it, and a wonderful man, Sam Sitker, told me this story, and it's just stuck with me that, the guy, I'm not thinking well right now either, but, when he did the statue of David, he was chipping away.
Michelangelo.
Exactly. He was chipping it away, and somebody was coming along, and they were like, what do you see? And he said, I'm just chipping away at everything that's not David.
Yeah.
And so, and that is my belief. That is my challenge in this lifetime, is to really just to get rid of all those things that are not Charlene. For the longest time, I didn't even know my name. When I was in active addiction, my name was like Cinderella, or
Sweetie,
Cinda.
or whatever.
I was caught up with the cops, and they were looking for Cinda,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Who is Cinderella?"
Yeah.
And so it bought me a little time. Anyway, but just trying to figure out who am I in my core of my being, chipping away at all those things that are not me. All that unforgiveness, but it is a wonderful opportunity to share with others. But the essence of it is relax, smile, enjoy.
That's simple, man. And that's
is.
something that everybody can do every day.
I remember when I first read this heart meditation in a Buddhist practice in Theravada, and they said, breathe through your heart. And I was like, breathe through my heart? What the hell does that mean? But I sat there and I said, all right, well, it must mean just visualize the air, and it works. It sounds stupid when you first hear it. You go, breathe through your heart. Breathe through your left foot. Well, if your left foot bothers you, it works. It works. If I have a bad ankle, sometimes it hurts,
man.
and I just go, boom, and it's gone. It's amazing. Yeah.
it totally does.
And the other thing, just chipping away at all those things, that trauma, sometimes, it's still misunderstood. So,
Yeah.
there's the big T trauma that said, I watched somebody die, or, I was in a car accident, or I was in the war. Those are big T traumas. But the little T traumas are, example given in the training is, as a little girl, I spilt my milk, and my parent responded by screaming at me, like, what the fuck's the matter with you? And so I internalized.
I do that well.
I internalized that as
I witnessed that this morning.
I internalized that as
Giving you
know,
eyes,
it's
boy.
not that I
Walking
made a
over.
mistake by spilling the milk. It's
I'll
that
give you right.
I am bad, and it's those kind of shame messages that I am bad. That's the little T traumas
and
that
the strange
really get
thing is-
stuck to us.
The strange thing is you cannot quantify that between two people. I mean, that may happen to her, and she goes, "Yeah, who cares? You shut up." But for me, it could be the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and that's real to me, so it's real.
And a lot of that depends on how much other nurture
Other things,
has been,
yeah.
and so
Right.
the love comes back into play. But the other modality that is offered to every woman who comes through the doors here is the EMDR, and that is, I don't know how familiar you are with that or how much you want to hear about it now, but it is in a quick, simple way. It's like, it's not the kind of therapy that where you're going to go to a therapist and you're going to go to that therapist for the rest of your life. It's like the kind of therapy where you're going to dig in there and pull that thing out and you're done. Like you're done. That one's taken care of. And there might be something else that comes up, but for that one thing, it's been resolved. And for me, I was run over by a lawnmower when I was 6 years old, and so I had all kinds of stuff in there about that, and I had the wonderful experience of going through EMDR to where now, even though it doesn't make sense to this front part of my brain, where the trauma is stored in the back part of my brain, it's like my husband today is there with me, rubbing my face, holding me, honey, it's going to be okay. I had, spiritual higher powers present in the hospital room when they were putting the gas, and I thought I was dying, like telling me it's okay. They're just going to put you to sleep so they can fix it. I didn't know that when I was only 6 years old.
No.
And it caused separation in my family to where I had shame that it was my fault. My sister was excluded from my family of origin. For all my life, I've carried that until EMDR. And now, when I was in that hospital room, everyone was gathered around. And so now when somebody asks me, Shar, what happened to your leg? Then immediately all that comes up is my husband rubbing my face, my higher power beside me in the hospital room, and all my family gathered around where I was not alone. Like, it is life-changing.
I've heard that exact statement from
It does,
every person that's ever
Yeah.
participated in it.
Yeah, I've done it too.
Do you suggest or personally have a mindfulness practice in place with this too, going simultaneously at the same time? I've also heard the benefits of that, like going through EMDR in combination with the mindfulness practice.
I would say my mindfulness practice,
It's just your
mine
routine.
personally is
Heart practice,
is the
right?
heart
Yeah.
practice.
I was listening to a podcast just yesterday, and they were talking. It was really weird. They're actually, and I'm not going to go into any detail about this, but it was like cannabis debate, and they had like a medical marijuana doctor with a opponent to the consequences of using cannabis and CBD and stuff. But one thing that I'm not sure which doctor it was that hit on it was, we've come to a point where, like, in our society where the PTSD conversation gets kind of like I was talking about, the spotlight being put on negative experiences. This PTSD conversation, the spotlight's all on the traumas that we've experienced.
Right.
Yet we've all experienced trauma at some level throughout various points of our life. And so the doctor was, and I had never heard this term before until yesterday, but I found it fascinating and I wrote it down to do further research. But he was talking about changing the narrative to, instead of PTSD, to PTG.
Yeah.
Do you know what PTG is? PTG? Post-traumatic growth.
Growth.
Oh Okay.
where you learn to grow from the trauma as opposed to experiencing negative consequences.
Actually, that's been quite a movement within the VA, which
Has
is
it?
basically invented and did all the research on PTSD. And they think that it should not be called D. They should just post-traumatic stress.
That's what they call it.
Forget the disorder, because it's not necessarily disorder for everyone. And everyone,
normal. It's
yeah,
normal.
Right.
Yeah.
And everyone has it to a certain extent. You may not admit it, but it's there. And some people deal with it. And here's somebody coming to the park.
Yeah.
Yay!
But yeah, like I think
yeah, it's
post-traumatic growth is just something
growth
that we
is good.
all should
Yep.
like.
I say that if you break your bone, whenever it heals
Yep.
back,
Heals.
that is the strongest point.
Yeah, but it's still always broken. It still always will be there. It's, yep,
Cool, man.
yep.
Well, listen, guys, I appreciate the invitation to have me out. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you guys. If anybody is interested in connecting with you,
Monday's guest is now
Monday's
watching.
guest is watching. If anybody's interested in connecting with
Jill.
you guys, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to make contact if anybody's looking for a sleepover at the Agape home?
Yeah, you can either contact me on Facebook. We also have an Agape page Facebook, and you can also call me 828-417-1814. And then if you want to give Gray's number.
You can call me too, or email me my name at gmail.com,
Okay.
Charlene Boyette, and my Charlene has a Y, charleneboyette@gmail.com. Or I have also a Facebook page, but I don't check it as often. Or my phone number is 828-450-2919.
Awesome. Thank you so much. But when we wrap this thing up, if you could share the information with the heart practice training guy that you touched on, I would love to pick his brain a little bit at some point down the road. Maybe get into one of those classes. I think that sounds phenomenal. So
Yeah,
He
for
has
sure.
offered to come here and give 16 free
Oh, wow.
sessions
Wow.
of heart-based
that's great.
strengthening,
Okay.
heart strengthening to the women who are here.
That's
so-
huge.
There's the other one.
Kevin, what's up,
Kevin.
Kev? Yeah, get Lauren. Get on that, Lauren.
Yeah,
I cannot suggest that enough. I would love to pick his brain a little
Cool.
bit. Thank you guys for tuning in to NC Raw. Thank you to the Agape Home for allowing us to come over and hang out with them for the last hour and a half. It's been a ton of fun. Get in touch with either one of these two if you guys have any interest in learning more about what they have going on here in this beautiful home. Visit www.ncraw to subscribe to our website. You can receive this episode and every future episode emailed directly to your inbox. And visit our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now YouTube page. All of our videos get uploaded onto YouTube.
Awesome.
It's just NC Raw Podcast on all of those things.
Cool.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful
Thank
day.
you.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste.